Welcome back, everybody. My name is Phil Marriott, and this is Sean Vickers from Unflopped. New Order. Michel Franco wrote and directed this film. Do you know much about this writer-director?
No, I know a little bit about the fact that he grew up in DFA, which is like the Central District of Mexico City. I'll say to our viewers and listeners, I spent 3 years living in Mexico City, so this film had a real impact on me, not only from the plot line, but actually from the location, because the two are tightly coupled. It's set in a neighborhood in Mexico City called Pedregal, and Pedregal is a very kind of like lovely, big avenues, gated, kind of lots of big houses, lots of money, and the story plot line starts with a wedding that's happening in one of these huge houses in Pedregal. But you're constantly reminded that there's a kind of like it's that micro thing. So the micro thing is the wedding, and the macro thing is there's civil unrest, and so you keep getting snippets of looting and disquiet. But it's all playing out as the film is going along, and so you're just enjoying this wedding.
And they're a very wealthy family, aren't they, as well?
Very wealthy family, but I'd say the neighborhood where this is framed is actually a very wealthy neighborhood in Mexico City. And you also get the sense of there's a class divide. There's always been a class divide in Mexico and across Latin America, actually, and you start to feel that class divide with regards to who works on the door, who works in the kitchens, who's at the party. And they do a very good job. Michel Franco does a very good job of showing that divide. One of the old members of their team comes and says, my wife is ill, I need some money to help her to go to hospital. Obviously, in Mexico City, you have private health care. There isn't the NHS or anything like that. And what pursues is the daughter trying to help this individual and driving out of her family home to go and help, and then chaos ensues.
Yeah, and this is someone they haven't seen for, 10 years or 7 years or something, maybe even longer than that. And you just think, how would you react if you were in that position? I mean, if I'd seen someone that I hadn't seen for 15 years coming up and saying, oh, can you help me out? And you'd think, oh, yeah, this is really bad news. Obviously, your loved one's not well and need healthcare. You would try and help them out, but after not hearing from them for such a long time, you would...
But there's something interesting here, Phil, I think, because there is a class divide, and there are people that work for you. That's what comes across. And I think for the daughter, if you think about 8-10 years ago, she would have been a young child, and actually she would have bonded with these individuals that were at their home, whether it's gardeners or whether it's kitchen. Like, she would have bonded.
Yeah, because she's very happy to see him, isn't she? She goes over and helps out.
She clearly has an emotional connection to this individual.
More so than the mother, who's very dismissive.
Hard as nails.
Yeah.
As is her brother.
Yeah.
And so she leaves the family home to try and help the wife of this ex-employee of their household. And while that happens, the property gets raided and looted in the most graphic way.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, isn't it? Because it had such an impact on me. It really disturbed me to the core. But then I thought about how they executed the scenes, because the scenes weren't necessarily graphic. I think they were in certain scenes more graphic than others, but certain scenes were, I think, directed brilliantly because they were so powerful. The way they shot, and I can't really go into too much detail, but it makes you think about the rest of the picture. You're kind of given those key elements, and you imagine what else is happening. So the camera often pans away, or you see kind of like violence in the background, but it's blurred or out of focus. So you're kind of imagining more than maybe what you're seeing, and I think that was quite a clever trick.
Yeah, it's unflinching.
Yeah,
is how I thought about it, and it reminded me of The Time of the Wolf by Michael Haneke, where things are just happening and you're just watching them, and it's just rolling, and it's quite matter of fact, and it's unflinching. So you're suddenly going, oh gosh, I audibly gasped about 5 times in this film.
Me too. And you're hoping that what you think is going to happen doesn't happen, and when it does, you're breathless, really, because you just hope that it doesn't happen.
There's something really, at times, really inhumane about it, about what's happening, and really kind of just like people going through the motions. And, it's more widely, it's a country that is rife with corruption, both visible and non-visible, and elements of that corruption are at play when the film played. I won't say too much about it because people should really watch this, but that's why it had a huge impact on me, because of the setting, my understanding of the political construct in the country, and at some point when something happens where it flips, where a country flips. And so I just thought, again, the only word I can really use is unflinching. I mean, as I say, it kind of blew my mind a bit because I wasn't expecting what I saw. It was incredibly powerful. It's not for the faint-hearted.
No, absolutely not. Not everybody's going to kind of appreciate this film, I don't think. And I think it should be appreciated. I think it should be up for discussion, because obviously it's a really topical kind of film as well, because it's really of the moment, isn't it? Particularly with what's happening in the States as well.
Yeah.
I think it's, political unrest. I think it really does brilliantly kind of bring that to the surface. I think it makes you want to question so many things. But it's a really tough watch.
It's a tough watch. It's my favorite word. It's powerful.
Yeah.
It's actually one of my favorite movies of the festival.
Okay,
hands down.
That's
Hands
interesting.
down.
It's not something I'd necessarily want to see again. But it's really stayed with me, and I love films that do that after you've seen them. It's a really hard one to categorise, though, isn't it? Because I think there are horror elements. It's not necessarily a horror film, but it's certainly more disturbing than a lot of horror films.
It's a bit like, this film, it's such a good way of describing it, because I think about something like Requiem for a Dream, which I would never watch again, but has stayed with me for about a decade. That film, I watched it blew my mind. It was so disturbing that I will still talk about it today. I'm talking about it with you now, but I would never watch it again. And there's bits of like Time of the Wolf, like I said, Michael Haneke. There's so many films that spring to mind where I'm like, it's so horrific, and it's what has been captured on camera is just something else that will stay with you.
That's a really good note, though, because I thought the same with Mother. Although I didn't love Mother, but I found it completely bonkers. But it, again, disturbed me. And it's something that I thought of for a long, long time after I'd seen it. This
film is disturbing. Full stop.
Yeah. I came away feeling quite nauseous. Actually, I felt sickened by it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We had a brief chat before this film, I know, but a lot of my friends in Mexico City after I posted things, have come back and commented. I'm really quite moved by this movie. I think it's really compelling. I think people should watch it. But there's a huge health sticker on it.
Yeah, I can't even think what I would rate it. I would, because again, it's not the sort of film that everyone would enjoy, but I think it's an important piece of cinema, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I would give it an 8.
Yeah, I think I would give it an 8.
And again, I think it's one of those films where people may give it a 10 or a 1. But it's just for me, one of my favourites from the festival. It's not particularly enjoyable, but it is compelling.
So it's called New Order. Is it Nuevo Orden?
Nuevo Orden.
There we go. Oh, so I'm just useless. I'm so glad you pronounced that for me. It's called New Order.
New Order, yeah.
And we both
gave it. Nothing to do with the band.
No.
At all.
I wonder if there's going to be anybody out there that would watch it, just thinking that it's going to be Burn and Sumner featuring somewhere. Interesting. Thanks as always, Sean. Thank you for watching, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you've enjoyed it. See you next time.
Bye.